Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 2 of my farming challenge on the Canadian map. And we're just going to start the day by filling up the tractor. It's strange, I haven't seen any gas stations on this map, so we're kind of just filling up with the tank. And just like I said at the end of last episode, we came to the shop so that we can sell the pressure washer because we did end up buying one that just sits at the farmhouse. So I sold that, and then I don't think we lost too much money off of that. And then I was considering selling the weeder, but we don't do that yet. The contracts are just starting to come in. I started the game at 6 a.m. and there really wasn't anything, so I just sped up time before I saw any contracts. While we wait for our contracts, let's just clean off our equipment for the day. I was thinking about what I wanted my goal for the next couple of days in this challenge to be. The last time I played this challenge, the first thing I wanted to do was pay off the loan. But I'm not sure if that's necessarily what I want to do right away. I think my goal for right now is to just set myself up for success with the contracts. I don't show the map right now, but this map barely has any trees. All the trees are kind of aesthetically placed on all of the farms, so there's not really any option for deadwood contracts, or there might be wood transport later on, but the wood contracts in general are just not something I'm really interested in. I think what I would really like to do is build a farm that I'm excited about and proud about, and not necessarily what is the most profitable. I'd like to grow crops that maybe are pretty or cute, or stuff like that. Anyway, so we're taking a look at the contracts, and there weren't any hoeing contracts today at all. There were some mowing contracts, but they were with the small fields, and I figured if I bought a mower it wouldn't really be that profitable. So I was waiting for more contracts to come in, and I figured I probably should figure out how to set up this greenhouse. So I've never had a greenhouse before, but I knew that I had to go buy a water tank. I don't show it on the video, but I did end up going and buying the smallest water tank that there was. I figured I only have one greenhouse, so I don't necessarily need a really big water tank to haul around, and I have such a small tractor, I don't know how big of a water tank I could haul around. Wouldn't it be nice if the rain could fill up the water tank as I'm driving around? Anyway, so I have the water tank, and the next thing I needed to figure out is how to get some water. Actually, I just realized that I didn't record it, but I did go fill up this water tank in the stream. You can kind of see to the left of the map. But I noticed that the stream was kind of far from where our house is, so I knew that I needed to find an alternate way to fill up the water, which you'll see we do find later on. I'm not sure if you noticed by now, but the game audio didn't capture, so I'm sorry about that. So once I arrived back at the house, the first thing I was unsure about what to do is how to fill up the greenhouse, but luckily there's a little button at the bottom that shows you, and the greenhouse holds 10,000 liters and this little water tanker holds 2,000 liters. So that's when I started to realize that going back and forth to that creek that's quite far away was going to become a hassle. But I figured since I just put in the first water, we could start choosing a produce to put into the greenhouse, and I know that lettuce makes the most amount of money, but honestly it's kind of boring. It doesn't end up showing here on this clip, but I did end up choosing strawberries to start as our first crops. But I did make another trip back to the little creek to fill up the greenhouse. I figured since I wasn't getting any contracts, I might as well just fill up the greenhouse as much as I could today with the spare time I had. At this point, it was approaching mid-morning and I still didn't see any contracts that I could do with the equipment that I had. But I did see that there were a ton of cultivating contracts, and I knew there would be. That's usually what I end up doing in September, October, November, December. I just didn't see too many cultivating projects the day before. So I thought that maybe this map in particular didn't have cultivating contracts. Anyway, so I took a look at the used vehicles and there wasn't really anything that was of interest to me right now. And that's when I decided that I was going to buy a windwheel, I guess, because it will provide us with very easily accessible water. It's $10,000. I could have sworn it was only $1,000 before, but I think they raised the price because it might be a little too OP. I just decided to put it at the front of the farm, kind of out of the way. I was thinking behind the house, but I thought that maybe eventually I could build kind of an equipment garage back there. Now, I've never owned one of these before. I'm still a newbie when it comes to the farming sim, so I was trying to figure out how to access the water, but I figured out that all you have to do is just bring the tractor beside it and fill it up. I was actually kind of surprised that the windwheel let me fill up with water right away. I thought maybe it would have to take some time to fill up. But that was a nice surprise, and then look how much easier this is for me to just go back and forth between the greenhouse and the windwheel. So throughout the morning, I kept checking the contracts and there really wasn't anything. So I knew that it was time that I buy some new equipment to accept the cultivating contracts. So I was looking at disc harrows specifically because I know they're a little bit easier to pull. So I do end up buying this one for $9,000 and it attaches nicely to the John Deere. I knew with the disc harrows small working with that the contracts that I could accept would have to be smaller fields. So I do end up accepting the smallest field that was available, but a lot of the cultivating jobs on this map in particular are huge. So I wanted to see how long it would take to take this $2,500 job. So let's go head over there now. If you look at the map where it says number 33, it was such an interesting little plot and I didn't really understand how to get there, so I just ended up kind of going through a few fields because it didn't really have any roads really to get to it. Now that we're here, you can see on the map that this is a very oddly shaped field. And the problem with this disc harrow is that it didn't allow me to have steering assist, and I'm assuming it's because it's not specifically a cultivator, but it does do cultivating. So I ended up having to manually go around this field, which thank goodness it was such a small field, because I think I would get so annoyed if it was one of the larger fields. I checked again to see, if it would work, but it just was not working. So let's just speed up time. I obviously do a pretty sloppy job of this field, but thank goodness it's not mine. So let's see. I'll come back when the field is done.
Keep on searching. Keep on searching. Keep on searching. Oh, I'll never give up. Keep on
So now that the job is done, I knew instantly that I was not going to keep this equipment. The working width was just too small, and it was not fun without having those guidelines. So I checked the contracts and saw that there wasn't really anything again other than bale wrapping, which wasn't on sale anymore, as you can see here, and the big huge cultivating projects. So I did go back home to think about what to do next, and I decided to head to the shop. So at this point, we hadn't really made a lot of money, so I decided that it was best to sell this disc harrow because I knew that I was never going to use it again, and also the weeder. Obviously the weeder because there's no contracts available, and like I said, I wasn't making much money, so I figured I could at least sell the equipment that I wasn't using. Since I did sell those two pieces of equipment, I decided that I was going to buy a new cultivator. So I took a look and went with this one, the red one. I figured it was a similar cost to the disc harrow, but this time it would actually allow me to use the AI lines to make my life a little bit easier. So taking a look at the cultivating tasks, I did end up accepting the smallest one just so that I could kind of see how it would go with this new piece of equipment. Now, this job in particular did end up taking me quite a lot of time in real life time, so I'm going to speed up and show you the beginning of the job and the end of the job, but I'm not going to show the whole clip.
It's all fun and it's all game. Goes to hell, no one's to blame. I think I've seen this happen once before. I don't wanna see it anymore. When you think you've had enough, here comes another one. When you think you've had enough, here comes another one. Stumbling up the steps and through the door. I don't think I could take.
So here we are about to end this contract, and I guess I'll tell you my thoughts about this new cultivator. To be honest, I don't know why I bought it. It's so tiny and it just made my life really difficult. I knew that these fields were big and I don't know why I didn't decide to buy something bigger. But I guess at the end of the day, I was really just trying to save some money. So we're really gonna have to rethink this cultivating thing. So that contract was $10,000, and I guess considering it was 3 hours of work, I guess it wasn't that bad, but for myself, that took about an hour of real life time to do, so it was a little bit tedious for me. I knew I didn't want to do any more of the big contracts with such a small cultivator, so I just wanted to take a look at the finances of the day to kind of see where we were. We spent 30 grand on different equipment today with the two cultivators and the pressure washer. I did end up selling about 18 grand of vehicles and equipment, and we were only at $12,000 for the contract. So that's when I started to get a little bit worried, because typically in September, at least the first month of September is when the contracts are actually pretty good and they aren't too sparse. So I was really not sure what to do next.
Too many more. Another trying to make a dime. Another sucker on the vine. Another slacker trying to get off cheap. I'm just trying to get a good night's sleep. When you think you had enough, here comes another one. When you think you had enough, here comes another one. Here comes another one. When you think you've had enough, here comes another one.
So we've arrived back at the farmhouse and just dropping off this cultivator. I continued to check for more contracts throughout the day, and with this tiny little cultivator, like I said, I really don't want to do those big fields. And there were no hoeing jobs, and those are really our only two options right now. So I just decided to come back to the farmhouse. It's 4 o'clock, and we did, I guess, have an early start today, so it is what it is. We didn't make too much money. Our water's looking great. And if we go inside the greenhouse, we are making a little bit of strawberries. I wonder when the pallets will start showing up. I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, we're going to end it there. And hopefully the next day will bring us better luck in terms of making money. Bye, everyone.